All right, here we go. Thank you, Obi. It is your market recap show. And yeah, we've been ready for this earnings to kick off here on a Monday. I mean, what an exciting day it's been so far here today. We had some crazy NVDA moves happening. Now we'll wait for PANW. We'll get some Palo Alto in the building. And then after that, we'll look for some Zoom. MSOS, some of the marijuana names were downside today. That's not a good look for them. Wheat upside, gas upside, SMH, some of the semis going to the upside as well. There's SMH right now taking out past highs and looking for that NVIDIA number coming on Wednesday. So a little bit of an opportunity there to trade, but what really moved at the end of the day was Ethereum. I mean, we get that potential talk of a Bitcoin, Ethereum approval into the ETF space, and there it goes, nice upside move. If you're just gonna look at a 1 minute chart, there it goes. I mean, we were able to punch long at 26 and change. Nice move all the way up to 29 before eventually settling in and around that 28.75. Ethereum Grayscale Trust up 24%. That bull in the picture kind of like just giving it the horns right there to the upside as we go. So, all right, we'll wait, Adair. We've got PANW news coming through hopefully pretty soon. I remember their last report, I think, came pretty late. I don't know.
This one's supposed to be 4:05 along with Zoom, so we might get 2 earnings reports for the price of 1.
Okay, we'll pay attention to that. And then we'll also talk to Michael Noss today, who's going to be coming through. You see the trade review with him and Trader Talk. So we talked about Robinhood today, and look what that name did all day. I mean, it kind of just went upside. We did get a little bit of a fade early, but then finishing up there at $21 and change, 20 and change, up to 21. Robinhood, finishing at the day's high. So yeah, pretty aggressive day today, needless to say, for some of the names. I mean, we didn't get a huge move for NVIDIA today, but it gave us some good opportunities trying to break through some of those levels of 940 and then eventually holding out. Ooh, we went to 948 at the end of the day.
I love that 948 level on NVIDIA.
Yeah, well, that's okay, good. We'll talk about that. Look at that. That's right where it was right there, 948 and change. We actually had a dip buy opportunity to 946 at the end of the day and had to cover it to get over here, but it was nice to see a 948 and change close there for NVIDIA. I think my number one stock went to the Ethereum Trust after all. But right there, there's that break of 940 that we had written down on the sticky note. That was a big trade to start the day upside for NVDA. Let's just look a quick look at some of these sectors. You tell me when anything comes through there, Adara, for any potential earnings plays that are coming. But yeah, the Nasdaq heading to all-time highs again today, as we'll see the Nasdaq intraday bounce up there on the triple Qs up to 455, creating that brand new all-time high there for the Nasdaq intraday. So even if you zoom it back out, there it is. Intraday or not, we're taking it out, closing, brand new closing high, I guess, as well for the Nasdaq. So I just didn't confirm that, but up 0.69 must be. So there it is, nice move there for Nasdaq, nice close for them as they continue to go higher, led by SMH. I mean, today, NVIDIA, look at the Nasdaq up 0.6, SMH up 2%. And
PANW.
We just talked about it. We just do have PANW now. So let's wait to see what happens with Palo Alto right now. Not a great early look for PANW. So it is now coming back down to coming out to the downside. Just a quick little look right here. $1.32. Okay, so
that adjusted EPS miss is bad.
Okay, so let's have a quick look then. It does look like it's out, but I'm not too worried about this until we get into this like 290, 280 area. So there's PANW. It looks like you have the numbers, Adara.
I do, yeah.
PANW
so
making a move down.
They do have a beat here in terms of their Q3 revenue.
All
so
right.
1.984 billion versus the expected 1.974 billion. So 1.98 versus 1.967, that's going to be a beat. Now where things get to be a miss is going to be those earnings per share. So they're reporting adjusted EPS for the quarter, 79 cents. The estimate was $1.25. So that's a pretty nasty miss here for earnings per share. Some main numbers I'm seeing here as well. We're getting some guidance here. We're not seeing any comparisons. Can't see if those compare necessarily to the estimates. Okay, so they do have as well these Q3 pre-tax profit, 251.2 million versus 560.7 million estimate. So anything that has to do with profit or earnings per share is going to be pretty rough miss here.
Yeah, I want to talk about it because PAN is very expensive, right? Its forward PE is 52 right now, so it's not the greatest PE looking forward for Palo Alto, but they're going to the downside and getting hit pretty badly. The expected move on PANW was 9.8%, so you're kind of in the pocket there, just going the wrong way for investors like us. We know Sharif talked about this name earlier as well. He likes it, I like it. I know Neil's in this name as well, so that sucks for all of us. Zoom right now, I don't know, not really moving around too much. I was gonna say not really zooming around, but its expected move right here is 8.
Yeah.
So right now, Palo Alto and Zoom both starting to get to the downside. We've talked to Michael about this before, about relative strength, but right now on earnings, obviously on a 1-minute chart, you crank to the bottom. That's not going to mean anything. Zoom right now down 3.76%. And again, not a great look for Zoom. And I just heard a yikes from Madero. So what does that mean?
Well, this is actually a beat. I was going to say it's like the opposite of a yikes. I think I made weird sounds there. But so, I mean, we could start with their view for Q2, and I think they're in fiscal 2025. So Q2 2025, they expect here $1.223 per share, and then revenue $1.15 billion. But in terms of their EPS and revenue for this quarter, they did beat across the board. $1.35 versus $1.20 expected here for the Q1 EPS. That's going to be a beat. We've also got adjusted net income. That's going to be a beat. $426.3 million versus $378.2 million expected. And here's the revenue, $1.114 billion versus $1.112 billion expected, so slight beat as well. Better numbers than PANW, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say Zoom. So again, if you're going to compare it to some of its peers, and again, it doesn't really have too many because, you know, what are we using? We're using Google to zoom into conference calls and all that kind of stuff, or maybe Meta, or something with Microsoft, with Azure. Azure's their cloud, with Copilot. So on and so forth. But Zoom, their PE actually isn't horrible. I mean, if you compare it to some of theirs in this space, their CRM 29, SAP 37, Adobe 26, Intuit 30s, and Zoom's only 15. So maybe on the valuation, Zoom isn't so bad right now. Peloton just got a 5-year term loan facility right there. $500 million revolving credit facility, not great there for Peloton, having to take on more debt. So down goes Peloton right now, down into 366, 370. Who's over there? Fabian? What's up, Fabian? If we could show Peloton, there it is. Nice downside move for Peloton. Let me just go over the daily chart. Yeah, so down into that bottom. Watch out for $2. Now down 16 cents for Peloton on that move. Quick check back in on Palo Alto as that's getting hit down into the downside. So, okay, we'll hold out on it. Unless you got anything else about Zoom or PANW.
I don't have any others. I think the main thesis there is Zoom beating across the board. PANW, nice revenue beat, but pretty harsh EPS miss. So market not reacting too kindly to those numbers. We also were supposed to have trip.com perform what I was seeing, the ETA, and that is going to be 5 p.m., which means we're not going to be able to cover it tonight. But decent expected move there. Not a ton of options volume, though.
All right, good look on that one. Yeah, again, adjusted EPS 120 to 121 to Zoom versus 123. So a good quarter, but not the best in the EPS type of thing. We've been talking about FXI, especially with Michael, who's about ready to come on in just a couple seconds. We're going to get him on. We've already teased it. He's going to talk all about crypto, man. Michael, I got to give credit to him, but I'm going to wait till he comes on, you know. We'll sort of pump his tires when he's on. But there it is, FXI with a nice move up to $30. We've been looking at FXI for a minute. And again, many guests we've had on, including Michael, including Chris Brecher as well. I think it was Steve, one of Chris's friends that was talking about yin and yang and FXI, so on and so forth. But there is a nice move back up to the upside there, $29. I'm going to talk to Brian about this because for me, although RSI keeps on heading to the upside, I just wonder, we're getting back into summertime here where we've seen a top for FXI come through and heading into, and I know Michael's going to talk about, hey, Shawn, don't worry about what season it is if it's coming into political season with the election coming up. But I just wonder if potentially we run out of a bit of steam as China could be a talking point as we have, when's that debate coming? June?
Late June 27th.
So I don't know, again, I'm not sure that either whatever Trump or President Biden talks about China, if that's going to move FXI or some of these, see you, Ramin, some of these. How was the sushi, by the way, Ramin? It was good, okay. All right, just good.
It was
hoping great, was hoping great.
Yeah, it existed.
How was yours? You had eggs?
Mine was good. I got salmon eggs Benedict from Aviva.
Yeah, the wife likes that.
Yeah, it was really good. And
you know what that eggs Florentine?
I should have gotten Florentine, but
That's
I wanted
what it's called,
salmon.
I thought, with the salmon.
Oh, is it? This one was called, they had a different Florentine.
Am I mixing it up?
I got Atlantic salmon one. I don't know. Different restaurants do different things, but it was good. They gave me lots of sides, so I have more to take home. How was yours? You got
What
aroma.
is your favorite breakfast side?
Oh. Okay, Shawn, coming through with the questions. I like a fruit salad and I like hash browns. These ones came with hash browns and a salad, so.
I like those little hash browns, like the little tater tot hash browns.
Those ones these are.
Oh, those are? Okay. Might have to check that out. All right, so FXI, anyways, nice move. We'll just quickly go over a couple of sectors, and then we'll go over to Michael. So what was bad today? Okay, we talked about some of the marijuana names, but again, those stocks are going to be, pardon the pun, up in smoke until we get better, honestly, better results from the politicians. I mean, we already know that they're trying to get this through, whether or not the DEA or I'm not even sure where this is, like what side of the aisle it's on right now, who's even voting on this. We had positive talk from Joe Biden last week that he would approve something if it was on his desk, I thought. We did have that little spike up right there up to 1048, but look what's happened since then. Is he going to sleep on this bill or not? Oh, we don't need to talk about it. All right, XLF. We did see a nice move up there in the financials as of late. So it's been a nice move, potentially running out of a bit of steam. We did get that news from Jamie Dimon. Whoa, we really pulled back there. So was this on news? I know there was news about him possibly talking about retirement.
Yeah, so they also said they're not they don't see themselves doing many stock buybacks at the current stock price. So it wasn't like, it was very hand wavy the way he put it. He said, we don't think we'll do too many stock buyouts if the stock stays around this price. But yeah, so kind of hand wavy. He's also kind of hand wavy about the succession plan. So even though they actually gapped up a little bit, APM just kind of steadily trickled to the downside as that investor day rolled on.
That might be a buy down there. JP Morgan down that much. Look, I have a lot of respect for Jamie Dimon, 100%. But I lost a little bit of respect when it was down into here when he was talking about that there was basically like a financial hurricane on the come, and then that never happened at all. And his stock just managed to march its way higher and higher and higher. So I lost, wasn't seeing clarify what that was all about. I think he got a lot of scares there. Got a lot of people out of some of their positions. So that was a little nerve-wracking there. USO and XLE starting to go up. Oh, Zoom. Remember I talked about their PE on Zoom? Well, Zoom is now up now on the day. So there goes Zoom back up to the upside. Nice. Wow, there goes Zoom. Look at this. Huge move up right there. Touches down to 61. What's going on with Palo Alto? Hopefully, nah. Not
those earnings were bad. That's the difference. The Zooms were like good.
Yeah.
Palo Altos were.
We always say there's no such. I don't know.
Sorry. Yeah, I should.
Neil says this. I was going to disagree with it, but he says there's no such things as bad or good earnings. It's just how the market takes it.
Yeah, I mean, there's worse than expected or better than expected.
You just said Palo Altos are bad earnings. I tend to agree with you.
Yeah, I did. I said that, and I was like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. But I mean, they're earnings that were, for the most part, far below what the market was expecting. So the market took them badly, is I guess what I should have said.
All right, before we go over to Michael Noss, I have to say one more thing because one of his favorite stocks, GameStop, there at the end of the day. JK, Michael, JK. Look at that move into the close. I know what Michael would say, possibly fade this, but it was a nice move into the close. And again, these stocks, Michael's done a bang-up job on our show over the last, let's just call it month for sure, well before that, highlighting short float opportunities. So GameStop, I think he would even admit, as all of us would, that GameStop with 24% short is part of that bucket. But whether or not that move has already happened, I would say look at the chart. I mean, we started this day at we started the move $15, $16. Basically, you could have got in, ripped all the way to 80 in a pre-market. Looks like the close there on a day, $63 was the high we got before closing at 48 that day. And ever since this big candle, we've sort of just inched our way down. Now, the only thing that I've said positively about GameStop is this $20 level. At some point, chart's got to look good. Michael's going to admit that. AMC as well. Whether or not you like this stock or not, we can zoom in right here. Look at this $4 level all the way back to February. If there's going to be a spot to buy AMC, I think 4 looks okay. I think GameStop looks okay at $20. But let me go ask Michael Noss right now with Trader Talk. All right, Michael, I was just sort of talking a little tongue-in-cheek there about GameStop, but that was a nice little move there up to the top side. And the one thing that you've been highlighting for us as we continue to go is short float opportunities and names that have held near the highs or continue to hold some of those levels. It looks like both of these names, of course, AMC and GameStop, are kind of the complete opposite of that.
Yeah, and relative strength, I believe, works across all asset classes, all time frames. If there is a name that's going to squeeze, it's going to squeeze and it's going to hold. And I
Right.
mean, if it's going to squeeze for a long period of time, the shorts that piled into GameStop at the top are probably covering down here. I think that may be what you saw at the end of the day there. Someone saying, okay, I
Enough is
made
enough.
a whole bunch of money, a nice return in a few days. Let me cover them and get out. You will see this kind of choppy back and forth bit, I think, with these for a while. Everyone's got go for GameStop, but everyone's got these things in their sights. They're waiting for that moment that
Yep.
maybe there's a round two. I really don't think it's happening this time, and the reason for that is that the short float's not there. You know, the enthusiasm's not there for it anymore. I think it kind of came and went. I think there's a whole bunch of hedge funds. We actually know Renaissance Capital was buying through this area right here. I wouldn't be shocked if they flip short, and now we're going to get some covering in this zone. So for me, the real move on these is dead, but you're right. Looking for names that didn't fall apart, I think that's the move for sure.
Yeah, and you were on our show, of course, earlier today, and I want to make sure everybody can go check that back out at 8:45, where you highlighted a doozy of a name for us, and that was Robinhood, and it was actually pretty much trending higher all day. We got a little dip down early. Here's Robinhood early on the day here. If I zoom back out, we did have an initial market on open and some of these imbalances that happened early, but still recovering nicely, holding the 200 period and closing at the high of the day. So congratulations, good call out there for Robinhood. And I know that you're not trading it intraday. I still think this has a little bit of room to run. We did get some questions on the show after you had left. Was there an upside target for you at all on Robinhood? I've really liked the name, and I indicated this as well. Part of meme stock, again, crypto trading going to hit this name. So are all these other names going to hit it with transactional volume. So we did get a question. Are you looking for anything more than maybe what we've already gotten on Robinhood? Do you want to talk about that quickly, and then I'll sort of go into crypto with you?
Yeah, sure. So the problem with Robinhood, so again, the synopsis for this was the real winners of this meme stock rally were the hedge funds that I talked about that loaded up early. A lot of them had to file recently. So like Renaissance Capital bought before the squeeze. There was a couple other big hedge funds that bought before the squeeze. That was, they were a winner, but we can't profit off them unless you're a
Right.
hedge fund investor. So I was looking at Robinhood. Most of these trades, if the animal spirits is back, in the States, a lot of ways they trade the animal spirits when it comes to, Dogecoin or Solana or Shibu or GameStop or AMC, they're all done through Robinhood. So my synopsis was, hey, these guys may profit from all this. So I did get a little bit as it kind of dipped in the morning and then came back through that price right there. So I am long. Now for upside targets, this one actually becomes really hard because if you zoom out here, this is a monthly chart. Really, there's nothing that happened between the fall up here at kind of 37 or
Right.
so and where we are right now. We're in, new high-ish territory with nothing really that I can see and say, hey, that's a logical level to get to and then to fail. So I'm just more of a trailing stop person on this. If I can get a couple day move, I'm going to take a big chunk of my position off. And then really, I want to hold this one for the long term because if I'm right, and they did make a lot of money from this meme stock craze, I think you're going to see that in future earnings reports. So, yeah, it's really hard to say, here's a target. So for me, it's give me something to take my risk off the table, and I'm going to put that in my pocket. And I think I'm going to lock this one away for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Robinhood. There are a lot of potential, and they have more assets under management now as well as of their last earnings call, and it was actually a really good one. So thanks for that sort of suggestion. I just saw your note right here. Do you want to talk crypto, or do you want to talk about the relative weakness potentially you were seeing in the Dow names? Was it the Dow names, or are you talking about Dow Chemical? Because I think you're talking the diamonds,
Yeah,
right?
the Dow Jones Industrial.
Right.
Yeah, we can start with that.
Yeah, so I actually, it's interesting that you point this out because if you come over to the chart, I actually on one of our podcasts, I gave sort of the would you rather to Brendan, Qs or diamonds, and it's because they were sort of overshot to the downside versus the Nasdaq back, I felt like anyways, mid or so April with bad news from Intel, bad news from Apple, bad news from UNH, which are all big, huge components, of course, of the diamonds. And since then, we've made a move back up to the upside. But your point is interesting. Maybe a little relative underperformance now in the Dow Jones 30 versus the rest of the markets. So what are you seeing here, Michael?
Yeah, so we have this both on the downloaded version and on the web. I'll just show you on the web here, where we have these, I guess they're called spark charts technically up here. So this is, just draws your eye that we have the Nasdaq up 0.5%. We have the S&P 500 flat, and then we have the Dow down 0.5%. So often you look up here and you see roughly the same type of return, give or take, any given day. The fact that the Dow fell apart right away and then the Nasdaq and the S&P were up, that gives me a little bit of concern because the Dow, although only 30 stocks and all the problems with the Dow, quite often for institutions, this can be the leadership of, all of the different indices. So it's a quick way to look at saying tech did well today, but the Dow Jones Industrial, which has more, I don't want to call it real economy, but they do things that if you drop it on your foot, it hurts. They were down a little bit today, and that got me just slightly nervous. Now I have the Dow chart up here where you can see not only was it relatively weak, it was relatively weak and closed right on the lows. I'll make this bigger for you guys, but closed right here on the lows, where again, the SPY and even the Qs had a really good day. And when you start to see divergences like that, it doesn't necessarily mean that's the end of the rally or anything, but it can signal potentially a short-term top. So I actually put on some hedges going into the close where I shorted a little bit of the diamonds, which is the ETF for the Dow, against some long positions that I have just in case. So it was just enough that it kind of piqued my interest and said, well, that's unusual. And after such a big long run we've had right here, it wouldn't be shocking if maybe that's signaling a little bit of a short-term weakness or some consolidation to come over the next coming maybe days or weeks.
So a big thing, and I'm sure you've noted this as well, is I know that your scanner will also, part of your heat maps, you can actually break down the stocks that were getting hit in the diamonds. And I've already sort of done this already on the show here today. Big one there for you to watch out for if you're going to be shorting the DIA and the Dow Jones, of course, JP Morgan today down 4.5%. So one of the biggest holdings in the diamonds there in the Dow Jones, JP Morgan getting hit to the downside, along with Visa and some of those other names. So a little bit of an undercover play there, especially if you weren't super high on financials and wanted to go a little bit short there. So, all right, thanks, Michael. I'm going to pass it over to Adair, who has some good questions for you.
Absolutely.
Hi, Michael. Hope you've had a great afternoon, and thank you so much for being here. I know one of the sectors, one of the areas that's made a ton of moves today was going to be crypto. You had Bitcoin making its moves throughout the day. Then around 3:30, we had that potential increased chance of the Ethereum ETF getting approved, and then Ethereum ran as well. Are there any particular plays or names that you're looking at with regards to this sector right now?
Yeah, so first of all, I have IBIT on the screen here, and you're 100% right. There was some news. For me, it's more this technical breakout, this, falling wedge or falling channel that we had a breakout on higher than normal volume, which is exactly what you want to see. Looks very strong to me. And as we know, if you zoomed out to, a real Bitcoin chart for a long period of time, we're sitting near all-time highs right here. So if this continues to break out and we hit all-time highs, that's very interesting to me. I was actually looking at the commitment of traders data the other day, which shows the net long short position. And there's still a lot of people who are short Bitcoin at these levels. So that could cause a little bit of a squeeze along with everything else. For me, where I went is Coinbase. And I want to talk about my past love, which was actually the crypto miners. But they've been dramatically underperforming in this crypto move. I think it's because the fact that we have they're unprofitable businesses. It's really hard to run a crypto miner. And now that people have ETFs to trade, then it makes sense to why not just buy the ETF as opposed to buying the crypto miners. So, the ETF I think is a totally good way to go, but I really liked this Coinbase kind of declining wedge that was happening right here. And I noticed it was just breaking out of that wedge today. So for me, that becomes a pretty easy trade to make where I'm long right here around, call it 220. I'm wrong if we get under 200. And if crypto breaks all-time highs, I would imagine that Coinbase is going to be breaking the highs right here. So I like structuring the trade like this because I think it very easily gives me a 3 or 4 to 1 risk reward, which means I don't need to risk very much to potentially make a pretty decent return on that one. So that's how I express this crypto thesis.
Thank you so much for going over those. We're going to have to keep an eye on these, especially with that potential Ethereum ETF approval. Thank you so much for going over that.
Not a problem.
All right, Michael, back to brass tacks again, because honestly, when you nailed, and you just talked about Mara a little bit, I don't want to get off that because there's a lot of people that are interested in these clean spark, the Maras, the riots of this world, was still a short float of 22%. I mean, I have trade, again, shout out to Trade Ideas, man. Get Trader TV 20 right now, get 20% off. I mean, come to my screen. I basically have almost the exact setup as Michael, who created this for me. But that break right there, like that smiley face, you've really taught us to draw those. And I mean, you got one right down here, but it sort of topped out basically back in November, heading into December, and then just took off. Once we completed that little turn, boom, hits the 200 and all the way back up. I'm kind of wondering, and I know you just went over it, but again, I'm just going by people in the chat, and I know we always get these questions live on the air. I love it down here at $14, $15, $16, but that's a hope and a prayer at this point. Just with some of this momentum and 21%, 22% right there, I know it's only one day to cover. You taught us to look for a little more than that. But with only a $6 billion market cap right now, I mean, Mara still has a chance here, doesn't it? I think we can get a little bit higher, especially if Bitcoin stays above 70,000, and then we even try to get to that 73. Don't just people flock to Mara just because it's one of those popular names that it's kind of like no matter what happens to GME, AMC will probably get going. Whatever happens to, you know, the banks, they'll all kind of, is that something that you're looking at with Mara, or are you just going to be Coinbase and then the coins themselves? Are we done with Mara now?
You're right. I do think you're right that they're going to move in sympathy. I think if Bitcoin rallies and if all this stuff breaks out to new highs, I don't think you can be wrong picking anything in the crypto world. But the way I always look at it is what's going to give me the most bang for my buck, right? I trade my personal money. I have a limited amount of capital. And when I break down all the different things I own and sectors I'm in, I have even more limited amount of capital. So
Right.
part of my job I find as a trader is I not only have to be right on the thesis, I have to try to pick the vehicle that I think will do the best. And how I do that personally is relative strength. So if we look at the Mara chart right here, you can see that it is well below, you know, these prior highs of $30 or so. Yes, it has the 21% short float, but again, it's well below these highs. I see it has a lot of resistance overhead. And then let's contrast this with like something
Yes.
like MSTR that also has a 22% short float and is up near its highs. So it's, for me, it's just a, if I'm right on Bitcoin and if I'm right on the stocks that are moving with Bitcoin, I think I need to go where my biggest bang for my money is. And I think that might be Coinbase and then maybe this MicroStrategy. It's just, I think these may be done, but you know, again, could be wrong. It could be a catch up trade. But for me, I always try to gravitate towards the relative strength.
You know who nailed this? A friend of ours, Brian Shannon. He was on our show last week, and he was talking all about ETHE and the potential that it was a little undervalued, and there was a premium put in that potentially it would not get approved, and then therefore that's where the risk was. But he indicated that today, and it's a huge move up. So shout out to Brian Shannon, as well as Michael Noss, who's joining us right now. All right, Michael. Anything else? You've indicated a little bit about Carvana in the past. Is there any sort of trades you might want to give us an update on? If not, we can always talk gold. But is there anything right now that you're looking to happen maybe by the end of the week? Because now we're on a Monday. I know you like to look at opportunities, open something on Monday, close on Friday, or not. But something like that, especially heading into month end. Is there anything that's a little interesting for you? I mean, we do have NVIDIA on Wednesday.
Yeah, so I have the Carvana chart up here. I still like the look of it, but it's a pretty clear trade in my opinion. Above this kind of
Yeah.
124, 125, I'm interested. As long as it's below this level, I'm not really too interested. But I do like the fact that as GME and AMC continue to kind of crash back down, this one hasn't moved. So 28% short float definitely means people could gravitate to it as well. But in the theme of relative strength, if I am worried that the market could be a little bit choppy or a little bit pulling back over the next week or so, my favorite scan is right here. This is TI Strength. This is an algorithm that I created myself for Trade Ideas that just ranks stocks by stocks that are just in insane uptrends. And I've noticed a couple things in it. So first, AESI, I like the breakout of this one today on all-time highs. That's an energy stock. If we go to AROC, this is another energy related stock, and then RRC is another oil, gas, resources type name. So it seems like some of these resource names may be starting to pick up. So I'm going to follow these names. Something like RRC is hitting new all-time highs. I'm going to follow these names just to see, maybe if the meme stocks and the Dogecoins and all of that take a break or are over for a bit, I'm going to then push over to something like an RSC, a more boring name. You did mention gold and silver. I just did want to mention, yes, I'm long these things. I've been pounding the table on them. I did take some profits in them today. Just gold and especially silver just look like a little bit overdone in the short term. I wouldn't be shocked to see a pullback in those names.
I mean, you jumped the gun a little bit there because you know what I was going to ask you, Michael? A couple 2 weeks ago, we had my favorite sector on this. Someone asked me what did I like moving forward. I said GLD, and that was at 215. Now we're starting to break higher. So I was going to ask you, would you rather? Would you rather hold on to your gold at this price or silver at this price? Is there one that maybe looks better, or do we flip it all over into COMEX, something that holds both?
I would go gold at this level just because it's a little less overdone. If we look at the gold chart that I have up here, it's barely broken out of this prior high, and it's a
Right.
much more smooth area. And then silver is, again, I always
Still
call it. I think it was JC that taught me this. It's called silver gold's crazy cousin, and just much more of a move here. So the reason I like gold here is because if both are overextended and a pullback may happen, I think you're going to get less of a pullback in gold than you are in silver. Silver, you just have that increased volatility. So for me, that's a little bit more for a trade, where gold is a little bit more for a longer term hold.
All right, I just want to tell this to everybody. Thank you, Michael. I like gold, and I'm in there for the longer haul as well because I didn't actually have any before just last week or 2 weeks ago. So shout out to that. I had never really held gold. But all right, Michael, everybody in the chat wants to ask you a million questions, but we don't have time. So they can find you at Michael Noss CMT over there on X. I believe you're on Instagram. Anything else you're working on? Anything else you want to mention to any of our viewers?
Just my Substack, which is also Michael Noss CMT. I put out detailed explanations of trades. So
Perfect.
if you want a written version of why I was interested in Hood today, I sent that out to people. You can check that out as well. A little more long form content than Twitter.
Perfect, works for us. Thank you, Michael. You know what? How about this? How about next Monday? I feel like this is a loaded question because I think you're going to say yes. How about we just do a Q&A? We'll go over one or two ideas, and then we'll throw it to the floor because they're jonesing for that. So we can find you all over X, and then we'll do a Q&A live on the show next week.
Absolutely. Sounds great.
That's Michael Noss from Trader Talk from Trade Ideas. Thank you, Michael Noss. There he is.
See you later.
All right. Well, a couple hours sleep later, we're now done.
Crazy.
So that's it. I started the day wanting to bang my head on the table, but we ended the day pretty good.
That's awesome. That's what
We're
matters.
pretty happy. Yeah, no, we're all good. Yeah. You get that energy, when you're sitting here in front of the market and you really like doing what you're doing. I mean, it just comes through. Will I not crash on the couch is a different story. Probably not.
Really? I was going to say I thought you were going to say you 100% will. Okay, so you're saying.
So when I get home, I'm going to have my crazy cockapoo jumping all over me,
that'll wake you
going nuts. No, not wake me up. I'm just saying, we'll take her out for a walk. I got a special. Yeah. That dog of ours is something else. So I'll take her out. And then the kids are going to want to probably do something. You know what my son's doing? Geocaching. Now.
Really?
Yeah, so so he downloads these apps, gets on the bike, and wants to go. So he was around yesterday. I was busy, so I promised him he wants to go a little extended areas. So we're going to probably do that. Maybe not. I want to see what he's feeling tonight. But that's what we've got planned. And then not too much else for tonight. And then a practice tomorrow, weather pending, for baseball. And I got some decent drills that they're going to be doing.
That's really fun.
What say you?
What say me for tonight? I mean, I don't want to be boring and say the answer I always give, but sleep.
Yeah.
I initially was going to do grocery shopping, but then I realized I know the grocery store by me is going to be closed for the holiday here. So I'm going to have to
The Rabba would be open if that's what's by you.
I could, but it's Freshco and they're individually owned.
Yeah, they won't be.
And the one who owns my Freshco is just closing it every holiday, unfortunately.
Period.
Yeah, so yeah.
You know what we did last night? We actually went to Loblaws, which is a major chain here.
Yeah.
And they did the pickup. So we ordered it. We were sitting around. We ordered it yesterday afternoon and picked it up at 6:30.
I could do that.
And they just dropped it. Well, no, it's closed.
That's true. Yeah, you're right.
Can't do it today. I was just liking that one there. The market's closed next Monday. Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's true.
No Michael Noss. Oh. Failed by me. No Friday. Sorry, Michael. No, Friday's me and Adair's Q&A. Come on, man. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to do, Fabian? All right. Thank you for watching us. Oh, quick check. PANW. Traders stay late. Unfortunately, if you're a trader and you have PANW, You should have gone home at 4 o'clock.
It's a pan.
Right now.
It's a pan.
Yeah, it's a pan. It's not a pandemic yet, but
it's a pan L. It's not a pan W.
It's not a pan W. It's a pan L. Yeah, it's a pan D, pan disaster.
But you're right, it could be near a pandemic. You're right.
Yeah. So yeah, geocaching is fun with kids for sure, Michelle. We like that one. And then the other big one is Zoom. I'm not going to go over anything else. Zoom holding flat. Zoom will maybe be a no trade tomorrow, but I think we'll be into pan W. Remember the last couple times we had some bad days off earnings. Let me just click this over here for a weekly chart. I think this one will bounce. I haven't looked at the numbers very well, but last time we had a couple days and then whoop, right back up to the upside. So there we are right now on pan W. Thank you so much for joining. Thanks for joining me again, Adara. I guess you're pretty much on this show now forever, so good job on that one.
Here.
Hopefully you'll take it over from me one day. But there it is right now. Thank you so much for joining. We're going to be back tomorrow at 8:30. We got to thank a big special thank you to Michael Noss, who joined us not only at 8:45 on a holiday. I forgot to say Happy Victoria Day to him. The guy's in Canada. And joins us today right now into the close. So thank you, Michael, for taking time away from your family today to do that. So big shout out to Michael Noss and to everybody here in Canada. Happy Victoria Day. Almost over. Get your last couple of fun
Get your last few hours.
Your last few hours in there. But you and I are here tomorrow, hopefully, at 8:30. So join us then. Follow us at Trader TV, Shawn and Adara. Smash the like, smash all of that, and we'll see you tomorrow. Ciao.
Bye.